second hour of authentic news right here on RBN Live this 21st day of April 2025, where I take your calls. First up, Gabriel from Arkansas. Gabriel, you made an excellent call to my earlier show on Revolution Radio this morning. I was very impressed. Join us today. You have the mic.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Last week, someone was arrested at Michigan State for protesting the U.S. support and funding of Israeli genocide. Just deplorable. Now, over the weekend, anti-Trump protests in all 50 states live streamed on YouTube. I tuned in and saw some of it. The crowds chanting, "Hey ho, Trump has got to go." I've been saying since before the election, the left and the right are both Zionist tools. Trump and Harris equally as bad. The purpose of the rigged two-party system Jill Stein talks about is to divide the people. Both the left and right are unacceptable for the life of this country. We got to really start rejecting the left and the right and establish a middle independent party. Bernie would have my ear if he was not a Democrat. Professor, do you agree that the fact that Bernie Sanders is a Democrat hurts him politically now with everybody being fed up with the left and the right?
Yeah, probably if Bernie were an independent, but he's a socialist. Some regard him as a communist. I do think way back in 2016, Bernie's time had come. The reason why Seth Rich downloaded files from the DNC and released them to WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, for publication, was because he was a Bernie Sanders supporter and was devastated that the DNC had switched 13 primaries Bernie had won to Hillary's column to guarantee she would be the nominee. I think if Bernie had actually run in 2016 against newcomer Donald Trump, then he might have had a very good shot at it. Certainly better than Hillary, whom the nation has grown to despise. And if she thinks she can throw her hat in the ring again, so be it. Democrat Party is committing political suicide, which seems to be its intent. Continue, Gabriel.
Thank you for that. Friday, you asked me what the tenets of Freemasonry are, and I listened back to the show, and I apologize that I was talking about a lot of stuff, and I forgot to answer that. The tenets of Freemasonry are friendship, morality, and brotherly love. And while I defend Freemasonry, I don't normally promote it or talk about it publicly. However, I'm happy to talk about it to anyone who's genuinely interested. What I do promote publicly and talk about regularly is the Gnostic Christian teachings, as opposed to Zionist poisoned mainstream Christianity, which, if you look closely at the church's false dogma that's unsupported by Jesus and the Gospels, it's all Zionist. And then another caller, Francis, asked me about the Eastern Star in Freemasonry, the separation of males and females, and she asked why some males are in the Eastern Star. Well, being a male, I have never been in the Eastern Star. I did set their lodge up, and I took it down for them several times as a volunteer because the Eastern Star has its own furniture and setup. But to be clear, Eastern Star is for adult female immediate relatives of Master Masons. I've seen brothers help out or volunteer for the Eastern Star if they were asked to. But if you're a male and you're in the Eastern Star just to be in it, I find that questionable. And I would just assume hand you a dress and call you sister. The reason males and females are separated in Freemasonry is because Freemasonry relates back to Manichaeism, just as the Gnostic Rosicrucian teachings relate back to Zoroastrianism. So with Freemasonry and Manichaeism, you have good versus evil, yin and yang, light and darkness, You see the black and white checkered floor in many lodges as a symbol of this. And Freemasonry in the United States separates males and females, but it's not like that all around the world. Some countries have Masonic lodges that include both males and females, which is more of a Rosicrucian type of system. Professor, I don't know if you wanted to say anything or just I was going to finish up the last couple of thoughts and let some other callers call in.
No, all right. Gabriel, go right ahead. This is your time. You're here. Go ahead. Give us your additional thoughts.
Yeah, last two quick thoughts because I love your other callers. Friday, a caller talked about the murder of Robert Kennedy. Well, Junior was there. Yeah, and Junior was there when it happened, and he didn't see the shot, but he heard it. And then he rushed to his father's side. And I've heard Junior talk about this many, many times in many interviews. And Junior says his father grabbed the tie off of his security guard, and he died clutching it in his hand after his own security guard shot him point blank in the back. So basically, Robert Kennedy's own security guard shot him, and killed him, which would explain why that very security guard detoured from the original route to exit the building the way they did. They weren't supposed to go that way. It was an ambush. I evaluated that case, and I think that Junior is correct.
Well, you got it not quite right, but pretty close. What we have is he was shot behind the right ear from 1.5 inches. Thomas Noguchi, a world-famous medical examiner, performed the autopsy. He said that the security guard, Thane Eugene Caesar, who does appear to have been the assassin, continued shooting as Bobby fell, hit him twice more in the body, and the fourth shot that passed through the jacket but didn't hit Bobby himself. It's a tie clasp you can see on the floor of the pantry. But it wasn't he who led Bobby there. It appears to have been a high-ranking official in the campaign. I believe it was Tom Mankiewicz. Bobby was supposed to leave directly out through the huge auditorium. He was not supposed to go through the pantry. And I believe it was Tom Mankiewicz who diverted him into the pantry in order to be killed. I mean, it's terrible to say it. Because many people have thought he was a good guy. But if I assess the situation right, you can see a very high-ranking member of his entourage comes up to him and tells him where to go through the pantry. And if you find that footage, I believe it will turn out to be Tom Mankiewicz. Continue, Gabriel.
Thank you. I appreciate that for you explaining those details there. My final thought is I like to talk about the Zionism and stuff because it's so poisonous. Well, mainstream Christianity, as it exists today, has been poisoned by false Zionist dogma, so that it follows Antichrist, which is very negative. That's a very negative thing to say. But I have good news. The solo followers of Christ, as well as the Gnostic Christians, know that Christ has been on earth since Pentecost in a new incorruptible body, not a physical body. And today, Christ appears to those who truly love him and follow his words and example that he gives in the Gospels, just as he appeared to Paul along the road to Damascus in the book of Acts. So if I'm wrong about Christ, sorry, Professor?
No, I was just going to say I worry about, expounding theological positions because other callers will want to expound their theological position, and we're not in a position to sort it out, especially when not even the existence of God is capable of being proven or disproven. Well, I'd like everything else you've been saying here, Gabriel. Just give us a final thought.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I will join you on the Raw deal again. So I look forward to it.
Yeah. We'll actually do a show, Gabriel. I found what you said about the 9/11 report fascinating. Tom from Florida. Tom, join the conversation.
Well, good day. Yeah, and it's not really about the Pope. That's pretty sad. When before I go to what I want to talk about, want to talk about Jesus. And Jim, I thank you for telling us your last caller, Gabriel, about Bernie Sanders. He is a Marxist communist. So if this guy would have wanted Bernie Sanders as president over Donald Trump, I think he's like a crab in boiling water here. This is like. We hear about a lot of your callers keep, there it is, Trump this. Well, look, Jim, I just saw Trump yesterday, and he had a big Christian service at the White House. His wife's a big-time Christian, so I want to make that clear. I know where Donald Trump stands with the Jews, but I know the guy acts like he's a Christian. I know his wife's full-blown, I guess she's an Orthodox Christian, so I'll leave it at that. But, I want to go back to ring-a-ding-ding before I go to back to Jesus. For all week, ring-a-ding-ding's been talking about how this guy Garcia, should be coming back to the United States. This guy is an absolute criminal, okay? Wanting a guy that I'm about to pay, my tax dollar is going to pay for this creep to come back to the United States when he's in El Salvador. The president of El Salvador said he ain't going nowhere. He's staying right there where he's at. You got these demon rat senators and congressmen want to fly down there and, make this guy a martyr? This guy punched him. With a bare fist, punched his wife in the face 4 times. Okay, she wrote it on the police report. He hit her. He struck her 4 times, full fist right in her face. Okay, Jim. In the meantime, this guy was. This guy's a real criminal. But you want to bring this guy back to the United States for what? To show the Democrats how to roadblock him with his immigration policies? And can you imagine to your guy Gabriel if we'd have had Bernie Sanders? How many illegal aliens would be in this country right now? We have 100 million Chinese over here.
Tom, I was not endorsing Tom. I wasn't endorsing Bernie as a candidate. I was saying he would have been a much stronger candidate had he been allowed to get the nomination, which was manipulated to put Hillary front and center. 13 primaries were switched out. Just a minute, Tom. 13 primaries Bernie had won were switched over to Hillary. Bernie was very popular in the party at the time. He was talking about Medicare for all. That was a big issue at the time. I'm saying Bernie would have run a far stronger campaign against Trump than did Hillary. I'm saying that's a fact. And the Democrat Party shot itself in the foot by manipulating the outcome to benefit Hillary. Go ahead now, Tom.
Well, Jim, I agree with you. Again, you're missing the point. I never mentioned that Bernie Sanders would have been a better candidate for the Demon Rat Party, the Marxist leftists. But I'm just saying, him compared to Donald Trump, what they're actually getting done as a president. Can you imagine? Jim, I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders going to beat Hillary or they stole the thing from Bernie. Yeah, absolutely they stole it from him, positively. Not once, but twice. But my point is,
yes.
Trump is doing what me and you want him to do when it comes to our domestic policy, which is getting rid of all these damn illegal aliens. And all your callers keep bashing Trump about Israel. I understand that. Look, to the guy Gabriel, I watched The Passion of the Christ last night. That's a hard movie to watch if you're a Christian. And it was hard for me. And I watched it before. But I watched it right. As a matter of fact, while I'm watching that movie, I see on the flashing on the screen the Pope had just died. And that was at around 2:30 in the morning, Eastern time. Okay, when I was watching that movie. And I also happened to watch the movie before that called Apocalypto by Mel Gibson. Maybe Gabriel should watch that movie and watch the ending of it and see if you can figure out what the ending means. A lot of people don't get the ending in that movie, Apocalypto. I would like you to tell me what you think of the ending of that movie, Apocalypto. It was very powerful, super powerful.
I've not watched it, Tom. But I prefer keep on the issues rather than attacking callers. Keep on the issues. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm not attacking nobody. I'm putting out pertinent information. I don't attack anybody, Jim. They attack me because I'm the only one that calls your basic show. Me and a few other guys that will defend Trump. Everybody else wants to bash him on your show, so I don't know why I don't call in all the time anymore, and I won't if you don't want me to, because I'm getting tired of all the crap about Donald Trump. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that.
Tom, do you favor the crackdown on the student protesters who are against genocide? Whose side are you on there?
Well, I believe in free speech, Jim. I believe you have a right to expression, and if you do it in a
freedom of speech, the First Amendment, isn't that part of the Constitution? Didn't Trump take an oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic?
Well, yeah, Jim. Yeah, like I said, you wouldn't have without a Second Amendment, you wouldn't have a First Amendment, Jim. That's my point.
So what the hell is he doing? Tom, what the hell is he doing cracking down on Harvard and other institutions? Because they're not stifling student protests, which are totally legitimate under the First Amendment. In other words, Trump is violating his oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. I regard that as an impeachable offense.
Well, Jim, I think every president in the last 10 presidents actually had impeachable offenses. I think there's 10 of these presidents that were in our lifetime. The last 10 of them did stuff that was totally illegal against the Constitution, and they should all been maybe impeached. But, that's here nor there. You can't deal with that because that's the power that be. But I can tell you what, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to domestic policy, he's doing a great thing. Foreign policy, hey, he put the tariffs on China. China has been raping us. Hey, there's some good things, some bad things. What can I say, Jim? It's a mixed bag, okay? It's a mixed bag with all these politicians. But I can just say this. Ring-a-ding-ding is defending a guy that comes to this country, illegally broke into our country, committed all kinds of crimes. He's been pulled over 5 times in Maryland, and you have Rachel Morin's mother out there and a senator that went down there, never even talked to that woman, whose daughter was brutally raped and murdered. Rachel Morin, have you seen a picture how pretty she was, Jim? Kate Steinle, Molly Tibbetts, Lakeland Riley, Rachel Nanguri. Do any of these people ever talk about that? How about if it was your family, Renee, or your family, Jim, that was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien? How would you feel then?
Tom, look.
That's what I'm saying. That is one too many.
Maybe a totally legit case of deportation, but it's trivial in the larger picture. You claim you're not going after, and you're being very specific in going after Renee. I don't like that, Tom. I don't like it.
She goes after me, and you defend her. That's why people don't want to call, because you defend her every time, not me. I don't reach out to attack anybody on your show. They attack me. They always point out Tom, this, that, Tom. And you know damn well I'm telling the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
If you need more defense, I'll be sure to give it. Thank you. I'll try to stop it around the clock, Tom. I'll do my best. Give me final thoughts.
Do I get a last thought, Jim?
Yeah.
Do I get a last thought? My last thought is this. The Pope just passed away. They got, of course, now put a new Pope in the Christian faith in the Catholic Church, which is a very powerful faith. Let's not kid ourselves. So my point is this. Like the gentleman was talking before. Okay, you had the Freemasons and all that. Okay, fine. All the apostles, Jim, except one, was brutally tortured and murdered. Think about that, Jim. You want to hang on?
Thanks, Tom. That's good. We're good, Tom. We're good. Thank you.
Now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind. I'll open up the doors. Help me. Face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people.
Remember, everyone, do our best not to specifically attack any other caller by name. Attack their ideas, but not them. Layla, welcome back to the show once again. Layla.
Yes, hi, Jim. I know your request is don't name the caller, but it's so obvious it's Tom. I am so tired. Look, I don't agree with a lot of things that Renee says, but I am tired of him insulting her by calling her ring-a-ding-ding. I am sick of that.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Renee has a right to her opinions, even though I disagree with a lot of what she says. She has a right to express her opinions without being insulted as ring-a-ding-ding. He is so arrogant. I'm fed up
with
that.
Okay. That's an excellent point. And let me say, as a student of logic and critical thinking and argument, Renee is one of the best at fashioning arguments. I regard her as one of our most intelligent callers. And Tom being derisive like that is totally inappropriate. I agree, Layla. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. However, if you're going to say that Renee is one of our most intelligent callers, we have a lot of intelligent callers on RBN. But I do dislike the way she always blames everything on the whites. I do not like that. Whites have destroyed whites. What was World War I and II all about? It was whites killing whites. So it's a matter of human nature. It's not a matter of skin color. Let's get away from that. The Europeans were the colonists because they had the opportunity to colonize and to brutalize and exploit other regions of the country. Now, I want to get to another issue, the Freemasons. Today's Freemasonry is not based on the earliest iterations of Masonry. My great-grandfather in Palestine was a Freemason. He was a stonemason. That's what Masonry was about. It was a trade guild. My great-grandfather built we know the older buildings in the Arabian Peninsula in that area were all stone because they did not have timber. Now, how do you verify a person's ability to be a competent mason? For example, when they were building Persepolis in Persia, or when they were building things in Babylonia, or in Assyria, or any of those other countries, they always had to use stone, and it was free stone that you didn't have to dig out of a large mountain of stone. That's where free stone masonry came from. They had to have ways of identifying who was competent if you were going to hire a stonemason from another region. They may have had certain symbols in order to identify their level of competence. That might be where the origination of certain what they call secret handshakes and secrets. What they're doing today, yes, today's Masons may be a secretive society. They're elitists. They are the ruling class. That is very different than going back to the original trade guilds of Masons. So let's put that aside. Stop acting as though all of a sudden the Bible is credible evidentiary evidence that would stand up in a courtroom after investigation. The Bible is a bunch of fantasy literature. There may be a God. I do not have any evidence of it. I would like to believe there is a God. I would like to believe that Jesus is still on the planet and that he would intervene in all of the injustices that are being done. I would like to believe that. I would like to believe that communist South American fat pope who sat his fat butt on a golden throne while everyone else starved to death around the world, that he was a man of compassion and divinity. So when I was in a Catholic school, we were always told the Pope was infallible because he was the spokesperson for God. That kind of nonsense should be behind us in this day and age. Yeah. Now, let me get to one other point, if you don't mind.
But only in matters of theology, Layla. Only in matters of theology.
Okay. No, I want to set aside. This is not a theological school. We should be discussing politics and how we can regain our rights as individuals, regardless of our skin color, and regardless of using history to beat people over the head today. Let's talk about today. Right now, as you know, we have an election going on in Canada. The man who is the leading candidate, he has a slight lead over the Conservatives. You know I have been very critical of Trump, whereas by nature I am a conservative by nature.
Yeah.
Trump, let's put Trump aside. Let's just talk about the conservative parties, whether it's Republican or conservative in Canada. I made the maximum donation to the Liberal Party, $1,750.
Layla, this is very timely. I'm going to carry you over for further thoughts.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's all right.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people. Because you can handle the truth.
Down to his knee. Got to be a joker. He just do what he please.
Layla, please do continue with your thoughts, Layla.
Yeah, I made the maximum donation to the Liberal Party because one of the privileges of joining the Laurier Club is you get access to invitations. And then I was hoping I could talk to Mark Carney and clue him in because he's been out of the country for far too long. Yesterday, he said something that just blew my mind. He was bragging about how wonderful it is in Canada where you have access, you have the right of free health care. Well, let me tell you, you have the right to free health care in theory, but you cannot get it because we've got so many immigrants in this country. And Mark Carney is planning to build up, from what I read, this population in Canada up to 100 million. Now, it's the ruling class that is running things. Let me tell you how long I have to wait. I have deformations in my skull. It's very frightening. That means I have headaches all the time. Do you know how long I have to wait to get a CAT scan? Nearly 8 months.
Yeah.
8 months. That is my right of free health care. Friends that I have in the U.S. said they can get a CAT scan within a day or within 1 week at the latest. So where did Mark Carney get all the privileges that he has to have been governor of the Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of England? He's a small-town boy.
I want you to call more about this, but not right now. I've got a lot of callers.
Let me say this. The election is coming up soon. Canadians that are listening must hear this. Mark Carney got his privileges by going to Harvard University in the U.S. We got a scholarship there. From that privileged position, he became part of the ruling class. The Liberals are the ruling class in Canada.
Yes.
That is the problem. So that is what we have to recognize. Canadians, do not vote for Mark Carney, even though I was urging it. He is unaware of the fact that we do not have competent builders. We do not have we have no legal inspections that are done. When I bought my house brand new 15 years ago, there was supposedly no shortage. There were no
call back tomorrow. Renee, you got the opportunity for a response. Renee, join the conversation. Are you there, girl?
Great.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am so grateful to guys like Gabriel who are really trying to lift the bar higher on discussions. Now, I agree with him. Both parties, I do not like either one. They're just both so compromised. Now, and see, I'm very frustrated because, he might not agree with me on this, but you see, somebody like him, he could discuss it without trying to jam his opinion down my throat. I can tell he's that sort of person. So the thing is, if I could pick, because I'm very grateful right now for all the white people. Thank you, God, so I don't have to hate them all. In other words, but the thing is, all the white people at these hands-off marches go online. And this is what keeps me going and reading all their signs and all their enthusiasm. See, this attacks saying I hate all white people. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like the reason I do this is because there's often an attitude of everything's wrong with brown people and black people and other demographic groups, whereas if they think somehow if you pop out your mom white and with a winky, you are like 100%. You could make Jesus look like a sinner, okay? So the thing is, that's why I do it. But see, if I could pick somebody right now who I would like to see him show his face at those huge millions of white people hitting the streets with those hands-off marches with all kinds of signs. I see very few rainbows. I see very little tinted hair, anything that might set people off. See, a lot of the right loves that culture war stuff because they use it to irritate people. I don't see virtually none of that, and it's mostly people in our age group, Fetzer, okay? They are hacked, okay? Good, regular, normal American human beings hitting the streets. Y'all should go to YouTube, go watch it. It makes you feel good. See, because I know the Freemasonry, they want you to believe in a God, but who I'd like to see raise his head right now is Jesse Ventura. Because I'm with Jesse Ventura on this whole both parties are rotten thing. I don't think either one of them is redeemable. And the thing is, now I know they've made it almost impossible. Those two little rotten parties got together to make sure nobody else, they rigged the system so a third party cannot rise. See, if you want to lose an election, let me vote for. I was for Ross Perot. I was for Ron Paul. The thing is, I do not like either one of these parties because they're so rotten.
Renee, who might lead a third party? Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey.
Too. I like him. I like Thomas Massey, Ventura and Thomas Massey. Look, go ahead.
What if he ran with Kucinich or Cynthia McKinney? I mean, wouldn't that be something?
And see, we agree there too. Absolutely,
Massey and McKinney. He probably put McGregor in as Secretary of Defense for crying out loud.
Well, like you said, Dennis Kucinich, I would like to see. I think this is a good idea.
We pull some
people. A good person like Massey from the right and a good person like Dennis Kucinich from the left, and you stick them together because the establishments on both our parties hate those two guys, okay? But the thing is, they hate them because they're good. You can't get anywhere in this country if you're good. That's why they did everything. Yeah. Remember that famous meeting of all those CIA people in the basement when Jesse Ventura won and it freaked them out. So the thing is, we need people like Ventura, like Kucinich, like Massey. No, wait, if you want to laugh your behind off, go find.
I got to tell you about 6 months ago, I tried to get Jesse back on my show, and he told me he had basically retired from politics. I didn't like to hear that, but that's what he said to me.
And you know what? You can't blame him. You know what? He has tried and tried and tried. You can't blame him. But the thing is, like you say, if you want to laugh, how about if you ever hear the tape of when Massey is telling how Trump kept trying to get him on the phone, And so he kept letting it go to voicemail, and that really hacked off Mr. Entitled. And when he finally, and then Massey does a great imitation of him. But the thing is, these people that say they're for law and order and Christian morals, the fact is, because I'm for fact, the fact is Garcia has been convicted of nothing. The thing is, he may have hit his wife, okay, but like I said, that goes on a lot in this country. Just like, yes, Laken Riley was murdered, but so are 5,000 other women every year in this country murdered by the citizens of this country, and we don't have their name beaten to our head, okay? So the thing is, there's people have certain agendas sometimes, and they cherry pick the facts in a certain way. But I'm with you. The thing is, Trump had the Constitution. He broke his oath. But the thing is, boy, he's going after free speech and due process, and he has a rap sheet with 34 felonies, and people don't mind that, but they pick on Garcia. From what I can understand, he's been convicted of nothing.
Felonies were fabrications, Renee. Look, I love your calls, but I got so many callers today, I got to call it quits.
Okay.
But, Renee, keep them coming. Keith in Montana, join the conversation. Keith, thank you, Renee. Keith, join the conversation.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jim. I'm sorry I didn't make it this month. The pain was too bad.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to read off a couple of headlines here. This is from the Times. The first Soviet government was mostly. He goes on to discuss here that it said that at least 80% of the Soviet government were Jewish, and this isn't against Jews, okay? The Jerusalem Post: far-right protesters in Ukraine demand Israel apologize for communism. And then it goes on to say that the far-right activists call on it and the Jews to assume responsibility specifically for the Holodomor. They famine millions in Ukraine in the 1930s. And then another article from Forward, which is another Jewish site. It says, I saw the documentary The Revolutionary, the Philadelphia Independent Film Festival. I really thought that China during the revolutionary period was one country that had not felt the Jewish embrace. In fact, 85 to 90% of the foreign the Chinese at the time of the communist takeover were Jewish. And then we had in 1963 on January 10th where the Communist Manifesto was read into the U.S. Congress. And now it's down over here to you again. Russia is an Orthodox Christian country with traditional social values, and for that reason it must be destroyed no matter what the cost to us. This is a jihad. And this is from Congressman Raskin, who, by the way, is not Amish. The up is this plight of Latin America. I know Tom the word, but that it is Latin America because of the Spanish. This is what happened, and this is the forum that we see today. We have capitalism, which is supposed to be good because it's a big corporation, but the problem with the big corporations is they take over everything. So after the Sandinistas kicked out their stupid Somoza down there, this is what happened under socialism. Now, there's two different versions of socialism. The ones I viewed before were all under communism, the communist socialists. The real socialist is where people get together. After they kicked out their dictator, they overtook radical reforms, and this can all be confirmed under the Oxfam. Anyway, they established their first public education system for their children, building thousands of schools and playgrounds. They cut literacy to less than 10% of the population. They cut infant mortality by one-third. They also established a national health care service. The Sandinistas, the death penalty. They allowed the development of independent co-ops that increased farming production 100%. But it says it was not. Why? Fearing the Sandinista model might spread to other countries, then former Secretary George Shultz, they called the Sandinistans a cancer on our society or land mass because Nicaragua had become a threat to national security. So when you look at what the United States has done through Cuba and stuff, by cement in the milk of school children and stuff, all those covert wars down there, what the U.S. has done with El Salvador, U.S.-Israeli arms sales down into, well, I wouldn't say U.S. I'll use Israeli because during 2023, Israel increased its arms sales to Latin America by 30%. What they're doing is they're destroying our societies. You talked earlier about this culture. No, sorry, Layla did, about this cultural. They don't want us working together. And as far as I agree with you 100% on that, the only way a guy could do that is that the American people should in some way form a corporate C so that everyone can support the main candidate, say, i.e. a president or something like that, so that everyone can work together towards financing that, because you'll never beat the AIPAC locked up by their own like that. But anyway,
give me a final thought, Keith, a final thought.
All right. So in the 80s, when they had a massive outbreak of E. coli, it was a U.S. corporation that refused to put porta potties in the fields. So immigrants, which they need, just like here in Montepec, Bing cherries and all that, heavily on the immigrants, because sadly, a lot of Americans are too lazy to get out there and bend over to the field. So that's why you have, and they're cheap labor. Even Trump and even that worthless Biden said that they're going to have millions of immigrants come in this country. They're just going to weed out the best. So, they're here to stay. There's no way to look at it. You can look at all the parks and stuff like that, but the corporations control everything, and you have to look at those corporations to understand what's going on. Anyway, sorry I missed you this morning.
Always glad to hear from you, my friend. Jeff in Ottawa. Jeff, join the conversation. Jeff.
Hi. Yeah, Layla was making a great case for why not to vote for Carney. I'm not sure why she gave him money. I'm sort of confused about that. But anyway, I think that what's going to happen is that Cleaver will win, not because I'm going to vote for him, because I won't, because I don't like him, because he was sent on the dry tour of Israel by the former Prime Minister Harper. What's the dry tour? The dry tour is the Zionist tour where they bring you around to their favorite spots and treat you well and all that. And basically it's propaganda. The wet tour is when you go over as a regular citizen, you have a cross around your neck, and you get spat on. Okay, that's the wet tour. Now, as far as the thing goes, my brother-in-law is very apolitical. Okay, never talks about it, nothing. He went out and got a conservative sign put in his yard. They said, do you want to take out 20 more? We got people who want them. He did. Came back, got 20 more, put those out, and then a couple days later put out another 20. Mark Carney goes into a factory. The workers are standing there with their arms folded across their chest, blank expressions, refusing to shake his hand. And he's ahead? Don't believe it. The whole polling thing is controlled by the Liberals, by the CBC. He's not going to win. We up here, when people turn against the party, they will carry you a new one. After an election in the 80s, what happened was the Conservatives went from a majority to 2 seats. You will never have that happen. It's 2. One person in New Brunswick and one person in Quebec.
Usually, phony polls are used to cover a fake election. Can you be assured that in Canada it's not going to be a fake election to conform to the phony polls?
Well, I think that there's a much smaller chance, because here you do have to show ID. I have to, for example, I got my little card. It's based on the tax law. I got a card right here. Shows me where I'm about. I go in, and my friend worked on this before. I go in. Okay, and I show my ID, prove that I'm a citizen. The woman or man takes a pen, runs a red line through my name, hands me a cardboard ballot. I put the thing in. I put it into a box. At the end of it, nothing comes in. There's the security guard there. Nothing comes in or out. They open the box onto a table. They're hand-counted with the lights on and tabulated. Now, is it perfect? No election system is perfect, we know. But I'm going to tell you something, and I hate to say this, and you know it as well as anybody. Your election system down there is just appalling. It's just unless you have to fix that and make it a priority.
Yeah.
You got to do it, okay?
Yep.
So we'll see next week, and I'll call in, okay? Yep. Thanks for letting me take my call. Bye-bye.
Keep calling. Tom in Utah. Tom, join the conversation, Tom.
Hi, Jim. You were talking about a common friend, Dennis Kucinich, that he was with me and we got locked into the building. But anyway, I just wanted you to expand a little bit on what you're talking about or reporting from Dennis. I didn't pick up everything, the nuance.
We were talking about a possible third party and how it could be organized and who might be candidates. And I was saying Thomas Massie, and then I said Dennis Kucinich and Cynthia McKinney. I think a Massey-McKinney ticket would be fantastic. They might even bring McGregor as the, Secretary of State. You could with Dennis Kucinich, maybe be Attorney General, McGregor as Secretary of Defense. I mean, we were just spitballing about having a third-party movement in the U.S. because so many are upset with the fact that Trump is turning out to have betrayed us. He campaigned on one set of principles, and now he's actually governing on another. And the pro-Zionism and anti-First Amendment is just shocking to me, Tom. Nothing has infuriated me more about Trump than cracking down on anti-genocide protests in the name of anti-Semitism and appointing a czar who doesn't even believe there's a Palestine. I mean, this is disgusting to me.
Well, maybe Trump has gone through a Jesse Ventura readjustment of thought. You remember when Jesse Ventura was made governor?
I speculated that when he was in Israel, he might have had a little brain treatment when he was asleep. I have a friend who went to Israel who was totally normal before he came back, an Israeli zealot. I think that could have happened to Trump, but he's got a long history. He's got a string of awards as long as the sleeve on your shirt from Tree of Life and all these other Jewish organizations that historically only give those awards to Jews. And I personally am convinced Trump is a Jew, whether conversion or by birth. I have heard he converted in 2017. Anyway, you cut it. He went to Rabbi Schneerson to give a memorial where Schneerson was thought to be the Messiah and said, no, he can't be the Messiah because there are still Christians alive on earth, which indicates how these people, the Jewish Zionists, want to eliminate all the Christians. They want us all dead, which leaves me wondering about the rationality of the Christian Zionists.
Yeah. Well, I've been party to putting 6 people in Washington, D.C., and every one of them report back to me, including Dennis, the fact that they have been cautioned.
He was the smartest member of Congress. In my opinion, Tom Dennis Kucinich, when he was in Congress, was the smartest member of Congress. So he had to get rid of him. So he redrew his district, and then he didn't win. This guy belongs to be in our government.
Well, Dennis is smart because he took my counsel, and he's got 25 more years of vigor. I wish all the patriots would be as smart as Dennis.
Tom, look, I appreciate your call. I got one more caller. I got to work in here. Bubba Scout, go right ahead.
This is the U.S. Pentagon's first team Bubba Scout rep. Everybody should be on the phone and calling everywhere. Call these broadcasters of Republic Broadcasting. Watch them cut you off and say, why aren't they doing their job? They're signed to the top of the government. Watch who they are. Remember, this network was started by thieves. When they asked Loris Tompkins, she used to run the Heritage Network. They stole it from her. She took them and sued them and got damages and all her money back. That Gen Isis freak in Austin, Texas was in on it with the founder of this place. I'm just telling you, started by thieves, and the people are thieving from you every day. So call the other hosts and say, why don't Bubba Scout Rebs do their job? You'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about. They'll cut you right off. They don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in America. They hate they didn't really make a big deal about April 19th, the 250th anniversary of firing on the British, because the British took over again with their UN. See, and they're part of this. They were set up by the United Nations. You'll see when you call these up right after this show. This is an honest show. I really believe he's honest. And that's what the difference is. You'll see how dishonest these liars are. They're sick. They're very sick. So call these other hosts, say Bubba Scout Rep didn't do their job. We want this fixed. Oh, liberty and justice for who? That's what you ask them. Ask them that. and they won't have an answer because they're traitors. That's what we found out. You might as well call it like it is. Well, Scout Rep, we don't have an opinion. We're signed up to do this. We stepped forward, raised our right hand. They didn't have to send us a greetings letter this time. And that barbaric Bubba, she's taken over. That's what I tell them every time National Command Center, Pentagon. And Secretary of Defense won't answer the phone. So get this to everybody on the network. Thanks for listening, because it's never going to get better. It's always going to rot. And those other people around the world you don't like, they're going to be dropping dead of heart attacks when they see what we do here. Because this is the place that everybody focuses on. This is the place when we set an example that they're going to take notice. So if you really don't go running and making deals with the freaks, let us do this job here, because we're smart. We're the only ones that ever got outside just part. And Professor Lester, he knows about it. So thanks a lot for listening and make us do our job. Call these hosts. That's what you can do, because they believe in free speech. You'll find out otherwise. Just say, well, hey, folks, Scout Rev, just add it to your conversation. Hey, thanks again. And I'll try to call in lots. We got things going on with National Command Center. Win the war, brother.
Thanks, Reb. Thanks for that. Everyone call up. I love diversity of opinion. I promote free speech. Spend as much time with your family, your friends, and people you love and care about, because we do not know how much time we have left. Use it wisely and support our chat. Back tomorrow. Join me then.
Hi, Tom Bolton for Ease Off. I know so many of you are finding our Easy 4 carcass drop and lift an essential tool for your meat processing operation, but today I want to spotlight 4 of our new products. First, our right height hog cradles with steel or aluminum frames. Our customers love this back-saving innovation that enhances sanitation and speeds production. Next, our beef cradles with stainless steel or aluminum frames eliminate rust and corrosion. We hope you'll compare our quality and prices for this essential part of your processing line. Our cradles are especially effective when used with our power skinner. And finally, our hook tumbler will keep your hooks clean and polished. EaseOff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too.
Ease Off, LLC, 417-932-6419.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.